So, hello, greetings, and welcome to my stream. Today, it's again not Spartan and me flying the MiG-21 on ACG Cold War or some other server. Today, it's about DCZ, the little project I'm currently applying much hours of private free time to accomplish something I want to share with you. And today it's about the map layout tool, the first part. If you create a game and when you are the administrator of one DCZ game, the possibility to create the later risk clone map layout, basically. So I hope I explained today everything which is important for the later game, which coincide with a map layout tool. And keep in mind, especially this map layout tool is very raw still. So there are many functionalities and things which should be done to get it in a better shape. But as I already stated on the Eagle Dynamics forum, I probably will give you an alpha version of that game where many things will still be very raw. But yeah, I'm also more a guy who makes functionalities over design. Yeah, given that I'm not a designer, I'm a computer scientist. So yeah, I'm more interested in making features. I'm sorry. And if the game becomes a little popular enough and I still have the time, I will, of course, shaping it up to a more flesh out application. Nevertheless, this is the entrance screen. So if you want to make a DCZ game, or be part of the DCZ game, you would first come to a certain web URL. In that case, I'm currently hosting it on my local machine, but yeah, you would be on a server and you would be able to register there and make a user and then become a part of the Digital Conflict Zone application. Greetings, Art of Stuttering. Welcome to my stream. So yeah, okay, let's start. First, we log into the game after we have registered, of course, and we create a new game. And in this instance, we would create now a game for the Caucasus map. So we click the Caucasus map, and what now comes here on the screen is basically the map of Caucasus in a topographical drawing version where the darker red areas, or especially the white areas, are very high heights, and the more greenish areas are more low altitude heights. So you get basically an idea where you are currently on the Caucasus map here if you navigate over the map board or the board of this game. And additionally, I have read out all the so-called scenery objects in DCS and made them, visualize them with small orange dots, so you can see basically where civilization or population is available in DCS on the Caucasus map, more or less. As you see, this is a 3D application, so you can turn around the camera as you like, of course. So yeah, what you do now by creating a new game and creating a map layout for the Risk-like game for the DCZ game is you are putting points into this map. I've decided for that kind of map creation system because basically put all the corners of a zone would be too much of an endeavor. So you you put in middle points. I will show you now how this is done. Currently, it's done with the P key. I will later implement here on the right side a panel so you can see how you do certain things and how you create the map. But yeah, I've once to press U for updating the map, so that is still a glitch. But yeah, with pressing U, you see that now additionally the locations of the airports are given. That is of course of importance. So you get an idea which conflict zone will have airports available at all. So you can bring planes to the conflict zone and let your plane start from that conflict zone if conflicts are arising. So now, as I mentioned, we put some points into the map, and as you see, I'm putting points into the map. A graph is drawn. So that is a very common algorithm in computer science. It's a so-called Voronoi diagram. I choose for this solution because it's a very easy to use solution to come up with a layout for making self-made borders or self-made zones, which will then comprise the map itself. And of course, you are able currently with the minus key pressed to move these points around and to adjust your map. As I said at the beginning, there are still many features which should be implemented missing, like the system doesn't actually see if you are making zones which are comprised almost only out of water, and such zones of course doesn't work in the game itself. So currently you have to deactivate these zones, and that is a reason why I've put here a half circle of points in that area on the Caucasus map. By pressing point currently we can disable these zones so they are no longer part of the game. And another thing which is important is that you keep your zones, of course, in a layout that every zone can, after some turns at least, be reached. So not that there is something like that. I deactivate that zone, so you have now one conflict zone there and no bordering conflict zone. Or another way is having multiple conflict zones which are not enter-able from another part of the map. So that should, of course, not happen. You have to keep a layout where you can reach every conflict zone by just moving your pawns later in the game from one zone to the other, in case these pawns are ground units. Aircrafts and helicopters, of course, can move over zones at once because they can fly, of course. But with your ground forces, you have to move from one tile to the other. So it's important that you keep a layout where, yeah. Okay, and I can put some more points into it to make the zones actually a little bit smaller. Here. Okay. You should also keep an eye that your zones don't become too small, because that would make glitches and probably even graphical artifacts in the later game. Another thing which should be automatically determined, but currently it's not programmed yet. But yes, that's the way how you lay out your map. So for example, this conflict zone is really big, and there are some airports which are very close nearby. I think this is the area at Kobuleti, if I'm not mistaken. And if you would create now the map with that layout, that conflict zone would effectively have 3 airports in one zone. And probably this is another thing you don't want to have in such way. So making points at the area where the airports are is, of course, another good solution to lay out further our map. Okay. So yeah, keeping the water a little bit out. Okay, deactivating that one. Okay. So what you now can do, currently it's a map with a key U, but again, I can bring it up in the right side panel later. It's not so much work to make that panel on the right side, and of course it makes this whole thing a little bit more easy to use. If I press now U, he will query the database and give you some additional information of the layout you just created. In this case, you can see how many square kilometers one conflict zone is up to. So how big it's basically. And this pop indicator wants you to say how much population is in that area in sense of salary objects. The salary objects are part of the DCZ game in that way that it determines how much credits you will gain if you conquer that zone and hold it from round to round. So for example, if you hold the conflict zone with the ID 4, you would become every round that passes in the game 30,756 credits. But the higher a population is in one conflict zone and the more credits you would gain from one conflict zone, the lower is the amount of fuel or oil or gas you can take from that conflict zone. And additionally, you will not be able to build so many buildings there. So the amount of slots for building placements in that conflict zone decreases when the population increases. So richer zones like, let's see, Tbilisi has a very high value because of many scenery objects, of course. So it's here 60,000. And yeah, since the update from 1.5 to 2.5, the amount of scenery objects increased, and especially in that area here, Koboleti and so on. Here we have 270,000 and 272,000 scenery objects, and that huge conflict zone would give you a huge amount of credits for sure per round. So you would probably like to make it smaller. What's key, you can change back to the layout you have now given, and as you see, the deactivated zones are no longer considered as part of the game. So if we now would create the map, it would be around that area, and this area would be left out. Okay. So if you don't like the values you see, or you don't like the layout which is currently, you can add, of course, additional points to the map to further divide it, or change the middle points to get other areas out of it. So yeah, this tool gives you the ability to make your own map layout and come up with unique Risk-like boards and play unique DCZ games, which will probably play completely different from game to game and map layout and to map layout. Let me see. Have I forgot something of importance? Yeah, it's countering the amount of available fuel. I said that. Yeah. And of course, as I said, it's important to probably divide the zones so that the zone, that one zone itself only has more or less one airport, and you spread the airports a little bit over the map. So not one is conquering one conflict zone and owns very much alone the ability to start aircrafts and no one else. So I think, yeah, basically I've explained the most important part of the map tool. The next step would be to create now the map with that layout. So all the data which is here given would be, in that case, persisted into the database, and you would be able to invite other players to your game, and finally then start the game. But I would like to show you these next steps in the next stream, basically. One thing, as long as you don't have created the final map, nothing has been saved into the database. So you can completely start from the beginning. And currently it's given by just reloading the page. So if you just press the reload button, then yeah, you start from the beginning, and you can put from the beginning points. Let's update points into the map and let him calculate how this map is compromised. One thing I found out just a couple of minutes ago. Yeah, there it is. Here, as far as I know, that is Krimsk, and rest of Krimsk there is still at least 6 scenery objects on the DCS map in Caucasus. I don't know what it is. Maybe I will drive or have a look at these places later. But okay, that's it for today. So that basically explains how the map layout tool functions. If you have now any questions to the map layout system for DCZ, you may ask them now. You're welcome to do so. Of course, in German and English. But if you speak in German, you would exclude other viewers then. But then again, my German is better than my English. Yeah, okay. Please, you're welcome to ask questions. Many things coming on. At a later time, I will show you how these zones are given to you in the actual DCS game. So if you have a conflict in one zone, you really can only deploy the troops which you currently have in that zone in that zone, basically. So the way how you lay out the game is of great importance in so many aspects. It's not only because of the population and the buildings you may build and the fuel you can get out of a conflict zone, but it's also how certain borders are given where you can invade a zone and what kind of places you later will have fights and so on. But yeah, I see you're also quiet. I mean, it's of course nice to see that someone finds it cool. But if no questions are there currently. Oh, how great was that? Population 1, okay. That is this thing here. Okay. Ah, still. Oh, that is the debug console. Yeah, I could imagine that many things will be self-explaining if you see later parts of the game, for sure. Okay, I promised other people that I don't want to get the video I will later upload. It's basically that stream. Don't have such a lengthy, length. So if no further questions are given, then I will conclude this stream for today. And yeah, I wish you all a good morning, good evening, a good afternoon, a good night, a good day, wherever you are. Have a great day. Goodbye, and hopefully see you for the next piece for DCZ, or maybe some conflicts from Spartan MB in MiG-21. Goodbye.